You got your water you're going for. I don't have my protein shake. Taylor Viscount, what's going on, man?
Not much. How are you?
I'm good. By the way, when I met your dad, I called him Mr. Viscount probably at least 9 times.
Yeah.
And he never corrected me.
That's a common thing.
I get Faust all the time.
I could see that.
I guess, but when I see Foust, I think ow, like
Ow,
ouch.
yeah.
Like either way. Tell us a little bit about yourself, brother. Tell people who you are.
Yeah. So I'm Taylor Viscount. I'm a local business owner here in Dover. I have a State Farm agency. We do a lot of, anything you can imagine. Most people recognize the name State Farm. So, but we are, a very big local business that likes to help with the community, do a lot of things with different programs to kind of build up the community. That's one of the biggest reasons I got into the industry that I was, because before I started my business, I did a lot of in-home stuff, traveled a lot. So I didn't have a big impact on community. So one of my biggest things I disliked about it. So I got the opportunity to start a State Farm agency about 3 or so years now. And it just opened up so many doors, so many, great relationships with people, and gave me the opportunity to give back to so many people that gave so much to me. So,
well, dude, to do what you've done already in just 3 years, it feels like you've been around, just as long, if not longer than us. So congrats on that, dude.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
What's the long-term effort on it? Are you looking to build up, sell, looking to get 20 years in the game? You're looking at other avenues, looking at expanding. What's the The next goal would be to try to open up a second location, give the ability to Where's your first location, just so everyone's...
It's 1460 East Lebanon Street, which is Route 10, right down from the airbase.
Yep, you guys just got a new Mexican spot right next to you.
Yeah,
been
right
over
next
there?
to us. I've been there once or twice. The ladies at the office love it. So every chance they get, they're like, "You buying us lunch today?" And I'm like, "Maybe, yeah, we'll do it." And they want to go right next door.
Any walkable place from work automatically is a favorite. Or
Absolutely.
Yep. So insurance, a lot of topics we can rock on insurance. I want to know who you got in the Super Bowl, though, because as we record this, here's what's fun about this, all right? We're recording this on Friday, January 26th. We're on about a 30-day lag from recording to release.
Okay.
So by the time this comes out, we'll know who won the Super Bowl. So I'm an avid 49ers fan.
I know that.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I don't make any quarrels about it. And anytime the Eagles lost, I made noise about it. Did you see the Deebo Samuel story I was making like every week anytime they lost?
I don't think so.
So when they originally lost to the Eagles, Deebo had this crazy, one of the wide receivers for the 49ers.
Yeah.
I know, had this crazy looking smile over top of the score. It was like 42-19 Niners over Eagles. And then he went on. How many weeks did they lose in a row? Could you bring that up, Sean?
5 or 6,
I thought they lost 4 games in a row after being undefeated.
Yeah.
So it went from just like, oh my God, we're gonna win the Super Bowl to we got to make the playoffs. and then they barely did. The Eagles schedule. If we look at the Eagles schedule, I know when they played us, I thought they were undefeated, and then 4-game slide. But if you just Google Eagles schedule, it should come up. Who do you got in the Super Bowl, man?
I'm really going for the Lions, man.
Dude, that has us losing the NFC Championship.
I don't want to talk. I know you don't want to have that conversation.
Episode. All right, this episode's taken care of. Hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, so let's look at this. So that's last year. Wait. Never mind. Right there. That's national. Scroll up a little bit. All right. That's 22? Yeah, go down. Sorry. August. I'm looking for the 49ers game. There it is. 42-19. Man, I knew that score. I might have a problem. Next game versus the Cowboys, lost by 20. Next game versus the Seahawks, lost by 3. And then they won against the Giants and then lost again to the Cardinals, the Giants, and then inevitably losing and leaving the playoffs. So they lost 3, won 1, and then lost 3 again.
It's terrible.
That is terrible.
That's terrible.
And they weren't undefeated at that game, but they were first in the NFL. And all of a sudden, now you're going into the playoffs limping?
Yeah.
You're not an Eagles fan.
No.
Right? What are you a fan of? Who are you a fan of?
The Redskins.
Redskins. Who are they? No, I'm joking.
Exactly. No. You're exactly
the nameless
right.
The nameless team. Ron Rivera interviewed for the Eagles position,
I know.
apparently.
Was it defensive coordinator?
Oh, I would hate that. I'm not an Eagles fan, but man, I'm cringing for him if that actually happened. Because a lot of Delawareans usually pick the Eagles. What led you to picking the Redskins?
I'm born and raised.
Oh, you were out there in D.C.?
Yeah, a lot of my family's from the D.C. area,
Gotcha.
and I grew up around there. My dad was a huge Redskins fan.
Is he still?
Mm-hmm.
Heard.
Absolutely. It pisses him off every day because
there's
of all
nothing,
the crap.
There's nothing to be happy about.
Exactly.
Nothing to be happy
Exactly.
about.
Yeah.
So you're going for Detroit. That's the big underdog.
It is.
Are you big anti-Chiefs?
No.
No?
No, I mean, State Farm, Patrick Mahomes is their boy.
Man.
So I can't not like the Chiefs, but I'm tired of the Taylor Swift stuff. I can't
Are
take
you?
it anymore. Yeah.
I'm surprised State Farm and Taylor Swift haven't done something because
Well.
there had to have been an email sent of like, hey,
Maybe.
here's a quick 7-digit check, maybe 8-digit, depending on how much she can get. Because
Yeah.
you're right. She's the hot button topic. What's the feeling for you? Like, because State Farm is everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Do you still get all giddy when you're like, yeah, that's my company? Or is it just like,
I mean, I like it. I'm a huge supporter of State Farm just because of what they do and how much they do for the community and all that kind of stuff with the programs. I mean, they give us access to so much money that they'll match when we donate and all this kind of stuff. So they're huge in that. So I love to see State Farm get promoted. Obviously, it helps me because State Farm's what's part of what I do. So,
Absolutely.
if State Farm's in the Super Bowl, you're going to see a lot more State Farm commercials. You're going to see a lot more emblems, all that kind of stuff. So kind of puts it in the back of your brain. But I kind of I've liked Patrick Mahomes. I think he's a good dude and he's a pretty incredible player. So
Patrick Mahomes isn't the reason I now root against the Chiefs a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not a hater of it. I don't really get when any fan of any kind hates another team or player. Or a musical artist. Like, if you don't like somebody, cool. Like, I don't listen to Taylor Swift that often. Don't mean I hate Taylor Swift.
not at
Like,
all.
she's incredible. Hall of Fame in the music world, all-time great. Don't listen to her music. Don't mean I don't like her. But in basketball, football, sports overall,
oh yeah,
it feels like if they're not for you, you automatically got to hate them.
exactly.
Eagles fans are really good at that.
That's a fact.
Super good at that. And I do it a little bit with the Chiefs, man, because they've beaten the Niners in the big game multiple times. I've watched them just win when we could have, and it hurts.
Yeah. Oh,
Beat
yeah.
the Eagles last year. It's time for them to lose.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't like to see the 49ers beat the Chiefs, but Brock Purdy makes me.
I'd like to see the 49ers beat the Ravens.
Well, yeah.
I want to run it back.
yeah. I mean, you might get there. You might get there.
What do you think about? Have you seen the leaked stuff that they apparently leaked who was supposed to be in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
That it was supposed to be the 40. It's interesting. Sean, can you bring it up real quick of the Super Bowl logo for 2024? So here's a crazy thing. For those that don't know about this, each year they'll announce where the Super Bowl is going to be, the logo for it, all that stuff way before the season begins. And that logo for like the last 10 years. Here you go. Conspiracy theory explained. Let's get rid of all the pop-ups and all right. Theory fans predicts which teams will play in the NFL. The colors in the Super Bowl 2024 logo has fans convinced that these two teams will face off against each other in the NFL championship game. Also, never heard the Super Bowl called the NFL championship game, but I guess
Never heard that either.
Never heard that in my life. According to this theory, the colors in the Super Bowl logo, designed well in advance of the game itself, predicts which teams will play against each other in the big game. So if we go down real quick, we'll see an example. Hopefully they actually give us... Oh, is that the picture? It just didn't load. There it is. So when the Bengals and the Rams played, it was orange and yellow.
Wow.
When the Eagles and the Chiefs played last year, it was green. And when I say green, it's Eagles green. It's like
it is.
teal. And then it's Chiefs red. And in this year's Super Bowl, which as we're speaking has happened,
Yeah.
people are already saying it's going to be the Niners and the Ravens. I actually saw a video back on this in October saying, hey, we saw the colors. It looks like Chiefs or Niners versus Ravens.
Wow.
And since the Chiefs can't play the Ravens in the Super Bowl, it seems like it's going to be us.
Yeah.
And now with them being one of the 4 teams left.
That's interesting. I've never actually seen that before.
And it's like 8 different times that's happened in like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's weird.
That's a little bit too much of a coincidence.
But how could sports be fixed?
That would be hard.
How I have a friend of mine, I won't shout him out. It's John Edwards, who jokingly a little bit will say that sports is fixed. And I got other friends who will say the same, but I don't get how.
I mean, what can you do to make sports fix? I mean, if you're at the end of the day, you got 2 teams playing on the field and they're running plays and catching balls. I mean, are you paying players to not catch balls?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, I don't know. I don't really know how easy it would be to fix something like that.
That's a great question because when I imagine it, like you and I, based off of where we were born and raised in our height, we ain't making no leagues.
No, that's a fact.
We're running businesses.
Exactly.
For those that do, I personally I don't feel like the majority of athletes who most NFL players probably, football in their hand from 5 to 8 years old, somewhere in that range.
Think, yeah.
And then, played all through Pop Warner, middle school, high school, start getting recruited, college, D1, getting recruited again. Whether you got drafted first round, seventh round, you're in the league. You're making millions. I don't know if there's a dollar amount you could offer that person to say, hey, go lose.
Exactly. Because, I mean, we've seen in the history of when, there was point shaving and all that kind of stuff in the past when it was common with players, making things to do, stuff with Vegas, but they got caught so easily. So I can't imagine unless the entire NFL is in on it that would be happening.
Now, I'll go on the opposite side of the argument.
Yeah.
I am super cool with players betting on their own games.
Well, no, I don't. I think that's fine.
I'm super cool with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's super illegal. And I get why it's super illegal because you could throw the game.
Yes.
You could purposely lose and bet against yourself. Sure. But if you're confident and you're always just betting on
yourself.
Yeah. There was a Jordan Poole. Sean, if you type in Google Jordan Poole betting on Warriors game or Warriors bench betting on, there was a situation where it's common in betting for the over-under. It's like, hey, we think Vegas will say between these two teams, I think in total there's going to score 216 points. Do you think it'll be over or under that? And you got to pick which one.
Yeah.
And it's common for people to bet on that. And it seemed like, prop bet, man, maybe click videos. I saw it on TikTok. That's the problem. I got to save these and then send them to you, Sean, when I know. Oh, bad bet. There we go. From a month ago right there. Bad beat. Let me see, maybe. I don't think it's going to be this is just a bad beat. Bad beat in betting world means just, this isn't it. Never mind. But pretty much you could see on the bench when there was a point scored with like 4 seconds to go, game didn't matter.
Yeah.
And the moment the bucket went in, it went over what Vegas had projected. And you saw 3 people on the Warriors bench go. And just like try to hide their reactions. They got like a towel on their face. You know how they do when they don't want camera seeing their stuff. But like they're already up like 11. So why are y'all acting like that? It's just like
that's questionable for
sure.
It's
very questionable why that. Speaking of the Warriors, though, and I say not to stay on sports. We can talk sports all day and night.
Oh yeah.
Did you see what happened with the Warriors coach? The assistant coach, who was a professional Serbian basketball player, had done it, I think, 12 or 15 years. He was the big man coach for the Warriors and was actually the big man coach for a bit for Nikola Jokic.
Oh, okay.
Who was the MVP last year, won the championship.
I went to one of those games.
Oh, yeah? You did. You did.
I'm a Heat fan.
You watched Jimmy lose.
I watched him lose.
I think you watched him lose twice. Or did you win one of those? Y'all split that?
We won one.
You split it.
No. We only won one game, and it was like 3-4. So
3. I got you.
Yeah, we.
I just started hearing things.
Yeah.
I was looking up. I didn't see it.
I'm still trying to find like the Jordan Poole stuff. I'm going on actual
Maybe
TikTok.
it's not Jordan Poole. Okay, because it was this year. Jordan Poole's not even on there. Look up Warriors bench reacts over under betting. I don't know. It was within the last week or two. And again, it was just a TikTok. I probably saw it on Bleacher Report. All right, so off of the sports side of things, you've been in Delaware now for a while. I actually met you through your father, who bought his house. We worked together for a bit. I still think about your dad's property as like we've sold over 700 homes. Top 10.
Oh yeah.
Top 10 homes price to property that we ever found.
Oh yeah.
Gorgeous
Incredible.
home. Even when we not
to backtrack.
Yeah, please. Oh, let's please backtrack. All right, so this might be it. The Warriors bench new. Can we make that any bigger? They might show it. All right, so yeah, they just scored the bucket or about to score. They just scored the bucket. You can see them talking,
them reacting,
all on their faces, just trying to chat without actually being seen what they're talking about. Did you have the over on this? Nah, man, I had the under. I'm good.
I'm making money on this one.
I'm making money on this one.
What happens?
Yeah, but this is where people will get into it, like why you shouldn't, because then you got Young Buck rookie on the line right now.
Yeah.
And you got Steph Curry on the bench. Let's say he bet the under. You could easily, give a little, miss one of these, split this.
Dude wants his points, though. He's a rookie. He's got to look good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's where, I bring up a Steph Curry. I don't think a person like that would do it. But the watcher of sports would bring that up as an argument that the players ultimately have control over the result. I think the biggest argument, though, is the refs. The umpires. But I had this discussion with somebody else in the office the other day around it is how do you manage to guarantee yourself that you're going to have an opportunity to decide the game with the whistle before the game starts?
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
To the point where you know who's going to be in the Super Bowl, you know? To the point. And maybe some of that's based off like AI.
It could be.
What if they're running seasons? What if they run an AI against, hey, here's the rosters for the season. Here's the schedule. Run a simulation of 1,000 seasons with this different injury variables based off their past histories and, incorporate age for degradation of stats and blah, 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 blah.
Could do it.
And then they say, hey, most likely, based off these, 54% chance it's going to be the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
Could be.
It could be.
It could be just as simple as that.
Yeah.
That they're banking on hopefully getting it right so it makes the marketing easy. I think that's more likely, but it is super fishy.
Yeah.
Super fishy.
And I mean, this year has probably been one of the worst officiatings I've ever seen.
Oh, on the football side?
Yeah.
I think basketball's having a similar season.
Oh, no. Very much so.
Especially at least on the NBA side, not to put all basketball in the same category. A lot of technicals.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of flagrants. But people like Draymond Green still need to get thrown out of the league.
Absolutely.
They need to get quadrupled.
I mean, that man gets paid millions of dollars to play basketball, and he can't even act right to do it.
You're absolutely right.
It's crazy.
Like a child.
Exactly.
Like a child. Could Sean, could you bring up the video I'm going to ask you to bring up of Draymond Green that I already showed you?
Yeah.
I appreciate you. And it will be the last sports clip we bring up, and that's not a promise. I'm actually not going to promise that. If somebody right now is looking to buy a home, should they be concerned about insurance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We'll use that as a cliffhanger. This is Draymond Green recently. Oh, no, this wasn't recently, but we'll watch it anyway. Draymond Green. I think this is when he stepped on Sabonis. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Boom! Right in the chest. And then tries to say he grabbed my leg. Yeah. You can see he definitely had his hands around or near his foot, but you stomped on his. Look at this.
Stomped.
It's a grown ass man. Oh man, he's faking it. Dog, look at this. Watch when they show the replay. And he stomps on him.
It's ridiculous.
Stomps on him. Look at this. This is just, there's no place for this in any level of the game. Nevertheless, pros. Watch. Bah! Like come
so
on now.
obvious.
No way in heck you have an argument against that.
No,
And
not
that's
at all.
not even what he did recently.
No.
That didn't even get him long-term suspended.
What was the one you were talking about?
The one that happened.
punch.
Yeah, you can say Draymond Green
yeah.
punch and it'll come up.
Yep.
You know what's real funny? And we won't bring it up because I made a promise. But Sabonis, the guy who got stepped on right there, 2 nights ago, there was a situation where he drove to the hoop. He put his shoulder down. Draymond accidentally tripped and accidentally was laying right under Sabonis. And Bleacher Report posted it as Sabonis had the ultimate meme opportunity to just not step on his chest, but just be like, ah. Just one of those would have been hilarious.
That is too funny.
All right, so this is what happened recently against the Suns. He's out there in the corner. You can't see it live. They'll show the replay. But once again, look, this guy's on the ground.
And I mean, what justifies him making that move and pulling his fists out?
It, this isn't a basketball.
No,
it's
not in any way.
In any way, dude.
No. It is horrible.
And to me, if more of the Suns players probably saw what actually happened, it would have been on site.
It would have been a brawl.
It would have been a brawl.
Absolutely.
Because when you see the replay, look at this.
And he's not even touching him or grabbing
even
him.
the Sun, there's people sitting right on the sideline, aren't even part of the game, that the moment he does it are just looking with their mouth open yo. Look, I've seen this. Look at the coaches to the right of Steve Kerr on the bench. Oh, I know the player right there. Look at him. He's just with his hands up.
Throws his hands up.
What are you even doing?
Yeah.
It's like
an excessive contact to the face.
Yeah, he
Foul's been upgraded to a flagrant foul penalty 2, and Green has been
thrown out of the
ejected
game.
from
Yeah,
Finally.
and then got suspended, and now he's back.
I didn't even see that he came back. I
Yeah,
guess I'm
came
not paying attention.
Man, week and a half ago.
Really?
Week and a half, 2 weeks maybe.
They let that man get see, and that's the precedent that they're setting. Is they're
Sure
letting this
enough.
man do all this stuff, and then they're saying, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna ban you for a month. You can come back and then play again."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we play around with the psychology of price anchoring all the time in marketing, which is if I said to you, hey, this product's worth $300, but they say, oh, wait, I got promo for $50 off, it's $250. You'd be like, yay. But if I said, hey, this product is $200, and then you come back and I say, hey, by the way, actually it's $250, you'd be like, what the hell?
Exactly.
It's price anchoring, what you expect. And setting those expectations, like you said, you're setting an expectation that you can't take back.
Exactly.
You've said, okay, this level of conduct meets this level of punishment, which was an indefinite suspension met with a requirement for going to anger management, which I believe they've done with him before. So, like, second time you got to ask bro to go to anger management?
It's ridiculous.
It's like, that's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say there aren't mental disabilities and things that can happen in your brain that make you more angry than the normal person. I know things like CTE and football definitely can mess with that, but like, I view anger management as one of those things like, man, you really are at a really low level of self-control to need that as an adult.
Exactly.
Or had a lot of issues as a kid. And there's no reason for this grown-ass millionaire playing a kid's game as a profession to just be punching people. No, but either way, do you ever feel like punching people in the insurance world? Because I feel like punching people sometimes in the real estate world. We can be real here.
Yeah, there's definitely times where
probably
it's
a weekly
frustrating.
basis where it's just like, man, what's going on here?
Just more in the sense of hoping that people do the right thing versus
hoping.
Just I got to get through my day so I can go home kind of situation. So.
Can I be controversial?
Yeah, sure.
I think we're going to see more and more because and I'd be curious. We're obviously not here to throw anything under the bus or anyone under the bus or suggest anyone's doing anything inappropriate.
No.
But I've commonly seen that in my world, in my reality, when money gets tight, people start to make dumb choices.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, a guy told me, he was one of my brokers a while ago. He said, broke people make mistakes.
All the time.
It's like, oh. And he was like, because you got to face with that choice. Because, like, especially, like, let's say real estate, where one closing can be $5 grand, $8 grand, $10 grand. It's like, all right, you could be faced with a situation where maybe you get this to closing, but you got to make a gray area choice.
Exactly.
And I really value the ethical line and values that we have at Loft to make sure that never even comes close to even being a choice.
Exactly.
And making sure our agents eat too, because broke people make choices or make bad choices sometimes. They test your morals. I think in a world where there's less real estate sales and more people in the world, or at least the United States, struggling financially than historically ever,
exactly,
that we're going to see more people in our given professions maybe making some edgy moves.
Yeah, and that's where you got to draw the line of, and the other thing too is when you're making a sale and you have that feeling behind where you're like, man, if I don't make money this week, I'm not going to eat, or I can't make my bills. I mean, there's a desperation in the voice.
And I've been there. I think I don't think any successful person in any sales or service hasn't been there.
Exactly.
With not to say you're sitting there with the devil and the angel on your shoulder, but like you said, just you have to grind.
Exactly. Yep. And it causes people, like you said, to make those bad decisions. And they're saying, oh, if I do it this way, I'm going to get this sale and make this money. And then it causes all kinds of conundrums of, good versus bad. And it's just not the path you want to go down, because then you'll lose everything at that point.
Nope. And then there's people who are petty, and then that catches up to them. Like a good friend of mine had her on the podcast, been our attorney for over 5 years, Erica Wolf and Associates up in Middletown. Fully suggest them. But she gave me great advice. She said, never send an email that you wouldn't want read in court.
Exactly.
And I was like, wow, that's a great way of looking at it.
Yes.
That's a grand way. That's an easy way to put my anger to the side and be like, all right, let's pretend some jurors are hearing what I'm saying right now. So I framed something earlier. Should people be concerned if they're looking to buy a property about insurance right now? We talked a little bit before the podcast. Do you mind if I bring everyone up to speed what we talked about?
Yeah, sure.
For those that don't know, places like Florida, Texas, California, Georgia, Alabama, a lot of southern coastals, these states are seeing big insurance changes. Places like Texas saw big tax changes past couple years too. So that state has just, when people were saying, oh, go get your deal in Texas, man, that disappeared in like 3 years.
Yep.
Just because the whole country went up in price.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, Texas is taking all these millionaires from California. Their prices are going crazy.
Yeah.
So Delaware specific, I'll say before you that pretty much everyone can expect, just because of the national issues going on with our economy, that everybody in all 50 states is seeing higher insurance premiums and costs than they were seeing 2 and 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
Those states I mentioned earlier, though, are seeing dramatic, double, insane changes.
Oh, yeah.
What should Delawareans expect?
I mean, unfortunately, it's not really any different. I mean, even myself, on one of my vehicles, I got a 40% increase in a 6-month period. And it's just due to the cost of inflation. I mean, back in 2020, most insurance companies did kind of like a give back program in the sense where during COVID, because you're not driving, they're lowering your premiums and all that kind of stuff. And it was an all-time low, obviously unprecedented time.
Not to interrupt. Was that just a State Farm thing,
No.
or a lot of insurance companies?
Almost every insurance company did it.
Got it.
Some were, quicker to it than others. State Farm was kind of in the middle.
Can you look that up, Sean? I've never heard of that program. I'd love what was that called?
I mean, it's
Car
part of the
insurance
COVID relief.
Okay, COVID relief.
Each
car
company
insurance.
had a different name for it.
Okay.
But it was all centralized around COVID.
Interesting.
The risk being lower because of the fact that people weren't allowed to drive, as well as some people were not driving cars at all because they weren't doing anything.
And I'm sure State Farm, though a humongous company, probably lost a lot of money during those months.
And it not necessarily lost,
Didn't
but
make as much.
Didn't make as much. Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, on average, we gave 28% back to every one of our customers during that time.
Okay.
So fast forward to now.
Yeah, quick math. Yeah.
We've been trying to catch up on that because COVID, yes, things slowed down, but what we didn't expect was how quickly everything rose after COVID. The cost of labor, materials, even just the daily stuff that we get. It's just crazy how quickly it rose, and nobody really expected that. And that's where the insurance companies are now, is we're trying to kind of get a little bit of a catch up when it comes to kind of staying above that.
So it says here, April 2020, we adjusted to reducing driving and claiming trends driven by COVID-19, announced our Good Neighbor Relief Program. Of course, we could have guessed that.
Yeah.
Good Neighbor everything. Providing which, by the way, is a great branding stance. Why is it insurance companies are so good at branding? Why does it flow from Progressive and the Geico Gecko and Limu the Emu popped up in the last 3-4 years? I remember I had a buddy who worked for Liberty, and I love him. Haven't talked to him in a while. Great guy, but I remember when they dropped the emu. I want to read that. I'm so sorry. The emu thing that he said, yeah, that's our new thing. Liberty. I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yes.
And then here it is years later. The emu's still running around. Everyone knows it. So it says, that's the number I was looking for. Together, these two actions returned approximately $4.2 billion in savings back to State Farm customers. It says in September, they also reduced business owner premiums across the country by an average of 7%. So that would be you, right?
Yep.
Which provided $54 million in savings for more than 400,000 commercial policy customers committed to the health and safety, just like everyone was in 2020.
Yep.
So a lot of money that they were giving back to not only the business owners who were commercially covered, the business owners who own State Farm offices, as well as the people who were not utilizing their vehicles anymore because they were told, hey, stay home.
Correct.
And that was, March, April, May, really June.
Yeah, we did it for almost 12 months.
Wow. Okay. So it was over $5 billion.
Yeah.
So taking all that into consideration, you just said, hey, over the last 6 months, your car is going up 40% in its insurance. So that's a drastic increase. But we have the math, it's sad math, but
that's the problem.
It makes sense. Cause when you're like, okay, cool. We're giving back 28% of what we make this year. All right. Like you said, it's over a 12-month period. And then during that during that year, talking's tough. And then 2021 and 2022 alike.
Yeah.
I mean, I can speak for homes. Home prices went up 38, 42, 46% in some areas.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and the minimum really in most areas. I mean, there's no one that didn't climb above 20, 25% higher than what they were previously. Specifically in Delaware, like if you're in Harrington, if you're in Seaford, like those areas, you could get a $175,000 home 5 years ago. Now you're getting a $275,000 home.
Exactly.
And that's a gigantic increase in 5 years. And that does affect the companies that cover those products. Do you feel that home prices are the biggest factor driving the change in insurance?
No, it's
because I know that leads the charge on inflation.
Yes, in that part of it.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's not listed as housing, it's listed as shelter. Because every time I read it, I'm like, what a like making us sound like villagers way of putting it. Like, his shelter's prices have gone up. It's like, all right, it's a single family home in a nice development, but all right.
Yeah. It's a funny name. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
It is a funny name. Well, so is landlord. Why are we still saying that? Why are we still saying that one? Do I need to tell you what master bedroom is originated from?
No.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know.
There's a lot of terms. Just like, why are we still using these? The powder room when there's only one. Like,
Yes.
dog, who's powdering their nose?
Nobody.
Like, not a soul.
No,
like, so
not at all.
There's maybe we need a lingo re-up in the real estate world.
Yes.
Insurance world. What's been the best, the biggest light at the end of the tunnel though for you? Of course, there's probably a benefit that comes with the negatives. Maybe a little bit. I may be setting you up to fail, and that's my apologies.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest driving factors to go back to that question is the weather events. You know, we look at drastic, catastrophic events that happen. Even here in Delaware, we've had some pretty crazy storms recently
Really?
that have caused a lot of damage, and we've had to open up teams to, take care of some of those people with the winds and all that kind of stuff.
The winds, you said?
Wind.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to go live on Instagram just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Wait, so what areas is every area an area that is going to, get hit with hey, there's too much wind, you're getting a lower amount or a higher amount on your insurance? Or
It's
is that
based upon
specific
area.
areas? Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the algorithms that they use to try to come up with to say, okay, well, this is in a higher risk area versus a lower risk. And like, there's all kinds of stuff that they come up with that. So like, earthquakes, believe it or not, in northern Delaware has a higher risk of earthquakes. So some places have to carry earthquake coverage. Obviously, down by the beach, you have to carry more hurricane coverage because of the fact that you have a higher risk of, rising tide waters and all that kind of stuff. So it's really dependent upon the area. Now, I will tell you that State Farm as a whole is probably one of the most competitive in that area because they understand what we're doing. They are very good at managing that risk and doing what they need to do when an event happens so that there isn't wasted money here or wasted money there. Yeah. So we don't, when we raise an insurance premium on a homeowner's policy, it tends to be because we're giving you more coverage due to our inflation rider, because we found out that your home is worth more to replace than it was the past 12 months, and we're increasing it more for that than anything.
And that's a significant deal. So let's just talk brass tacks here. If someone's buying the average home right now, Kent County median, we're right at $325. Okay. All right, so let's just call it $325.
Yeah.
$325,000 home. We'll say it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-story, not near any water, not near any lakes. All right, we're in a nice little development in Camden. What should I probably expect the average insurance premium to look like? Per year, of course. And then from that, what most people may not know is then that is split up in Delaware, usually in escrow, and split up amongst your 12 monthly payments. You normally don't pay your insurance separately.
Correct.
Most people don't. Of course, if you own it in cash, you do.
Oh, yeah.
Question though, I've never asked this. Do insurance companies allow you to break it up in 12-month segments if you buy in cash, or do they want it up front?
I know State Farm does.
They
I can't
do allow you
speak
to
for
break it up
everybody,
in
but yeah, you could do
didn't know
monthly,
that.
quarterly, semi-annually. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, most people who are buying a home in cash also have the the $2
They're
grand.
gonna
to
buy
throw.
it, yeah.
But speaking of $2 grand, what's the actual number that home
On a
3 beds?
325, you can't hold me to this.
Yeah, of
but
course.
it's probably anywhere in the range from $500 to $700 a year.
$500 to $700. That's not a ton.
Yeah, my house that I have is insured at 620. My premium's 14 a
Heard.
year.
Yeah.
So-
Okay, so that's more what I'm saying. So what's that premium per year? Is that 14?
For a $500 or a $600,000 plus house.
$600,000 house.
Yes.
Got it.
So
got it,
half.
got it.
That's where I came up with like 5 to 7 would roughly be about half of that. So
Okay,
yeah.
got it. So in Delaware, you got a $350,000 house. Nowadays, you could basically say, hey, I'm at least probably $1,000 a year would be a good train of thought. Probably,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
I've seen ones as high as $1,600, $1,650.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, like you said, the car side of thing is getting hit as well. How, other than bundling, which State Farm, obviously,
Yeah.
Can I have a sidebar question?
Yeah, sure.
What's the contract for Patrick Mahomes and State Farm? Do you know?
I know nothing.
How much
about
are y'all
that.
paying that guy to act like a fool for y'all?
I have no clue.
Sean, could we look that up?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I don't know how, because he has some commercials where he just be acting silly.
Now, you're not ready for what I'm about to say, but I saw a State Farm ad yesterday.
Okay.
And it was posted publicly, so I'm not leaking anything from State Farm, but it was an ad about Arnold Schwarzenegger being a State Farm agent in some kind of movie promo.
I love that.
Yeah, I thought
That's
it was pretty
hilarious.
funny.
I
thought it was pretty funny.
Or is that one of those? Mahomes has made an estimated $20 million. Oh, that's just from
That's from
endorsements,
endorsements,
total.
yeah.
I was like, holy
I was
cow. Why doesn't he quit football? Adidas, State Farm, Oakley, and Nestle. My guy likes, isn't that hot chocolate? Nestle? Or is that chocolate milk?
No, it's
I think that's chocolate, right?
yeah.
Okay. Jake from State Farm, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, because it was Aaron Rodgers beforehand. Mm-hmm. Got it. Isn't he a character?
Very much so.
Would you prefer it still be Aaron Rodgers? He's got some pub around him now.
I mean, he does.
Do you think when he started talking about COVID, State Farm would have dropped him?
No.
No? Okay. Interesting.
No.
Well, because you guys don't deal with health insurance.
We don't deal with major medical.
Got it. So it wouldn't be a concern of yours, really, then. Got it. That's a lot of money. I'd love to know what it is. Hunt's Ketchup.
Ketchup.
My man is grabbing
When
everything
Patrick
he
Mahomes
can.
was a rookie, through interviews and social media, he talked about his love for ketchup. Mahomes declared that he used ketchup on everything he ate, which, of course, led to an endorsement deal with Hunt's Ketchup. That's just great marketing.
Oh, yeah.
That's just great marketing.
Who knows if that's real or not, but it's great marketing.
There's certain pop-ups we probably shouldn't have on the screen.
What is happening?
I have no clue. We are not responsible for any pop-up ads that pop up. That's hilarious. Can we look up State Farm Arnold Schwarzenegger? You can take that off screen to try and search Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It was
because I don't know how to spell that.
Facebook reel, I think, is where I saw
Okay.
it.
Is
Something
it
like
one of
that.
those Super Bowl leaks? Because that seems
I
to
don't know.
happen every year now.
It does.
That
It may be some kind of commercial.
Is that
or-
like, so I'm 50-50 on that. I used to, here's my nostalgia, miss not having seen any of the commercials until the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Now I feel like I see most of them
It's weird,
before
right?
the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the purpose behind that, you think? Because State Farm does it too. That's how they introduced
Money.
your new Jake State Farm and
Yeah.
all that.
I don't know what the purpose would be behind that.
You know what I think is? I have a conspiracy theory, or at least a theory.
Let's hear it.
I have a theory about what's going on at the Geico headquarters.
Yeah.
So Limu the Emu pops up, doing great. You guys have Jake from State Farm. Your switchover went great.
Mm-hmm.
Got Patrick Mahomes going swell. Travis Kelce popping in and
yeah.
best it can go.
Yep.
And so Geico's like, we got to bring back the caveman.
I mean, that would be right down the line.
I think that's what's
I mean,
happening.
I
Because I,
remember
saw
when
a
I was a
commercial
kid,
for it,
yeah.
and that made me think, oh, Geico's sounding the alarm.
Well, also,
There's a
Geico-
marketing meeting that happened and just shifted things.
Yeah, and Geico just lost their second spot. If you
What do you
didn't
mean?
know that. They used to be
No.
the second biggest
it Progressive
insurer behind
now?
State Farm. Progressive took it over.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They advertise
A ton.
a ton.
Yep.
I also don't think I think the gecko's an older person thing. I don't think the
Yeah.
gecko resonates with younger people as much. I think it's fun,
I agree.
but I think it's I think it falls in the same category. We learned this on a podcast yesterday. Gen Z,
Yeah.
or at least younger Gen Z, has never heard of like the Taco Bell taco dog, the
No.
Chihuahua.
No.
Never heard of them.
Nope.
I feel like
Shout me out.
I am shouting you out because I had like a damn. I'm 30 and I'm old. Damn it! Like we brought up a few things. We found out when we walked back downstairs. Like here, I won't even preface it. I'm just gonna sing a song for you as best I can, and you're gonna tell me what it reminds you of.
Gosh.
Ready?
Okay.
I think you can do it.
All right.
I think as soon as I do it, even with my terrible lyricism, you're gonna be like, oh,
All
that's
right,
this
all
one.
right.
Ready?
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
dun,
The
dun.
party bus.
The party.
Six Flags,
Six
right?
Flags,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. See, Sean, everybody knows this shit. If you're above the age of 25, there's certain things that they just indoctrinated
Oh,
into
yeah.
with their branding. And so I think it's, sidebar to that, I think it's funny when, whether it's race or gender or age or location or whatever it is, when people are like, wow, I'm not really represented, out in Hollywood or in commercials or blah, blah, blah. And then when that specific section is, it's like you're just asking to be marketed to.
Yeah.
It's like I don't understand that. You're
Doesn't make
asking
sense.
to be represented in, hey, please give us your money.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's another thing where I think people just try to find something to be angry about.
Exactly.
I forget where we were going. Oh, did you find Arnold Schwarzenegger? His video? Is that a?
Yeah.
Oh, we did. The official teaser trailer. So this might be.
This might be.
This is right on the. Oh
Yo,
my
this is
god!
so
Can we
funny,
bring back
dude.
up the thumbnail? Can you do that? That was great. Oh man, that thumbnail's top tier. He looks like a superhero. Look at
Yeah.
he's so angry. dramatic
What
music.
are we supposed to do now?
This is a superhero movie. What the
There's got
heck?
to be
Yeah.
someone who can
Can you make it
help.
full screen?
Let's try it.
Yeah, it's like going slow.
Okay.
Oh,
I guess
wait,
that
that
was
was it?
commercial.
No, he fast forwarded it.
Oh, that's full screen.
everything.
Apparently.
What are we supposed to do now?
Okay, I have no idea what's happening.
Hit a theater mode.
There's got to be someone who
The
can help.
empty one. Yeah.
There may be one.
Oh, we get that. Arnold Schwarzenegger popping up like that's like the Avengers logo,
Yeah.
hardcore.
Yeah,
This is a new Hulk movie. It looks great.
it's pretty cool.
Agent State Farm. So is his name State Farm because he's Agent State Farm instead of a
don't know.
State Farm agent?
Yeah, I don't know. There's so
Just
many
that last
questions.
part.
Yeah, there's so many questions.
Why is it on fire in the background?
Just that part, I just noticed you could barely hear. Jeez. I had a spam caller calling me in the middle of that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a potential spam call me right in the middle of that. You have to look that up. State Farm, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Agent State Farm.
I just want to have that because if you can use like dun 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 dun, you could just barely hear. So is that their? Do they have him under contract? I think that's just a cameo one time.
It's got to be a cameo. It's the same thing with like the Drake thing a couple years ago.
I do
I think it's
remember.
probably going to be something like that.
I think
but
they
who
fumbled
knows?
Drake a little bit. I think they could have wrote him in a bit better.
I think so.
I think when you got Drake, you could have gone a little harder.
Yes.
Like I remember when Apple had Drake and they got Taylor Swift and they did that whole treadmill one. Remember
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
He was like jumping. Like, yeah, that was fun. And then I forget what Drake did, but either way, I was like, that's a fun way to use him. And the way I'll use Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
Same way. It's just like, it's funny. And it's interesting too because especially with football, we don't get to like see their faces.
No.
We don't get to see behind the face mask and all that. I feel places like State Farm and these other big companies give athletes the face to the public access that they need.
Oh yeah.
So
Without a doubt.
will State, and this is a question I had earlier and I completely forgot to ask. I don't know how it works. And I don't know if you know how it works. If the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, which again, we'll know this when this listening happens. So we're not dumb. We know what day it is. When and if the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, would you guys shift your advertising? Would you guys go harder? Like, would you guys have more paid placements if Kelsey, Mahomes, and Swift are all there versus if the Ravens are there? I don't know if
I
you
don't know.
can at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, just the generic or not generic, but just them being there would be the only difference, really.
Sure,
but I don't know if
sure.
they get like more opportunity to advertise because of that.
I didn't know if it's like one of those like first right of refusal, like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
if X team makes it, we want to give you this budget. But if this team doesn't make it, we want to do Y budget.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know. But it's interesting because I remember earlier in the season when the whole Swift thing was going on, they sent Jake from State Farm to go sit with Taylor's mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
It is.
Why is it insurance companies have the branding and marketing thing down as opposed to everybody
They
else?
just they have to. They have to. That's what it's all about. Branding and marketing is what the insurance world is. Because at the end of the day, I mean, really the only difference between one other company and another, obviously there's a whole list of things, but
Sure.
when it comes down to dumbing it down, it's price. You know what I mean? People worry about how much it's going to cost because we're essentially offering, the state tells us what we have to offer, what the bare minimum can be, and then we have different levels that go up from that. So, it definitely, price is probably one of the bigger things.
Well, and that makes it hairy, especially when you're offering a similar price to somebody else.
Exactly.
It really does it kind of just boil down to whoever they call first? Is that what the stats say?
Sometimes. Most of the stats, actually, believe it or not, the Gen Zers right now are really into they don't want somebody in the beginning. They want to do it all, through online. They don't
sense.
necessarily want to have a conversation with anybody. They want to get what they want to get and they get it done. But when something happens, most of the time, I think it was, I can't remember what the percentage was, and I'm not going to make something up, but it was most of the time they
Above
wanted
50%.
somebody. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was definitely above 50%. They wanted somebody to hold their hand through the process. They
During
wanted
the
to
claim.
come in. Yeah. During the claim, or if they had a problem with their bill or they had something that didn't make sense, they want to actually come in and talk to somebody face to face. But that's the only time. It is if it's just paying their bill, doing normal things, they don't even want to have human interaction.
It's funny if you
weird.
kind of like stereotype it. It's like Gen Z, their upgrade is like, I'm going to go from online, never talk to me, I don't want you to know who I am, to, all right, let's have a nice peaceful conversation.
Yeah.
And then it seems like the older generation is like, hey, let's have a peaceful conversation around getting this done. And then their upgrade is like, I now hate you.
Yes.
I don't know. I think Gen Z might handle it a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a stereotype, of course. There's plenty of nice old people and plenty of mean young people.
That's a fact. Yep.
On the insurance side, though, it has to be frustrating knowing you don't control too much of that online activity.
And you're exactly right. You don't have too much control over it, but you can funnel it
What do you mean?
in directions that you want it to go. So you can, as you probably know, you can make it to where you can only advertise to a certain group. So I don't waste a lot of money because obviously I'm not going to be advertising, do an online application, online quote, all this kind of stuff to a certain age group because that's not what they want.
Absolutely.
So the ability to be able to say, an 18 to 35-year-old is the only person that wants to touch this gives that a little bit more of a streamlined process so that they know, hey, I'm going to make that email have a click to an application. Mm-hmm. So they go right to it. They go to that, get their quote, move on. The other one is going to be, hey, call me at this number in another age bracket because they want to have that conversation over the phone or have a service that calls and makes an appointment for somebody to come in with certain people that want to do it that way. So it just gives you that a little bit of better of ability to kind of focalize it in a way that you want it to be done.
Makes sense. Are they also structuring their advertising based on things like income brackets and location?
Oh, yeah.
Like I have to imagine like a lot of your boat ads are running in coastal areas.
Of course.
And your secondary home things may be running in higher dollar areas and like that type of stuff's also going on, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
It was interesting as having a child now. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to see. I don't see State Farm as often, but you mentioned another name, Progressive. Mm-hmm. All over kid stuff too, with kid appropriate stuff. Mm-hmm. It makes sense for the kid, but clearly with the thought process of the parents in the kitchen hearing it, it's very audible while visually stimulating to the kid.
Oh yeah.
Which I was like, just how smart. You keep the kid happy. He's not smashing skip ad.
Yep.
And then all ads for kids, by the way, are getting so smart.
Exactly.
My
son purposely watches the ads because he enjoys them.
They're doing so good.
Yeah.
So good. Dude, so here, an example, I'm sure you have one, but a good example is like literally she'll be watching My Little Pony, which she doesn't really watch. But I'll just give an example everyone knows. And then the ad will be some dude who created My Tiny Pony. And you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
It's barely different. And it's just a 30-minute episode. And before you know it, she's 20 minutes into this Spanish show that she doesn't even know what's going on. Just all of a sudden, I don't know what they're saying.
Yes, exactly.
And they're getting ad revenue. Like, it's
crazy.
It is crazy. But marketers are smart, and it's silly of us to think that they're not purposely targeting us based off of what we need, based off of our age, our income, our location.
All the crap we post on social media and all that stuff. Yeah.
I see. So I'd like your take on this. So we just talked generations. I love the generational talk because I feel if there was a 3-year period to be born that was optimal, at least in my eyes, it was when I was born. I got to go up until 18 not having a smartphone in my hands, 19, 20 without having a smartphone in my hands. I made it to, God bless my mom and dad, until 16 without an Xbox or any type of video game system. And, you drive around, you bike around your neighborhood to figure out where your friends are, where the bikes are in the yard. And you want to talk to your crush, you got to call the home phone and talk to their dad first. Like, oh, you're looking to talk to Jessica, huh? Like, there's no texting or Snapchat.
Yeah,
so
no, you're exactly right.
Got to do all that. And then boom, work life hits, and now all of a sudden social media and everything, I got to learn this. I got to get deep in this.
Oh, yeah.
And we get the opportunity to. And so I got a good vantage point, I feel, a good opportunity to live through both.
I agree.
And so that generational difference, let's talk about that real quick. I forget the specific, with all that intro, I forget what the exact thought process I wanted to hit on that, but it was around exactly what you had just said. It's going to come back to me. I hate when I do that. Does that happen to you?
All the time.
Does it keep happening, you think, as we were getting older?
Yes.
Or are they just putting something in our water?
Could be a mixture of both.
It's so frustrating though. When I walk into another room and I don't know, I'm not a big self-bullier, like that the little voice in your head.
Yeah.
I'm not big on letting it be mean to me, but there's no time where I'm meaner to myself. When I walk into the kitchen and then I get there and I'm like, why am I here? I'm like, you big idiot. Like, why'd you get off the couch, big ass?
Yeah.
So the generational difference, you mentioned the marketing side of things. We got the money side of things. Do you think that generationally speaking, less people in Gen Z become owners of anything to insure versus past generations when they were 25 and 30 and 35 and 40?
I mean, I can't say less, but maybe it may take them more time to get to that point, because I know that we have, when I look at because when we look at the analytics of, who are we going to market to and say, when we say, let's say the 20 to 25-year-old is what we're going to go for. Mm-hmm. When we would do that, a lot of the people that we would mention or see were still living in their parents' home, or, was in the basement. They didn't venture out to buy a home. Now, whatever that reason was, it's, a moot point, but we started to notice that. So maybe not so that it isn't happening, but it maybe happens later on in life than what it did, 20, 30 years ago, when somebody was getting those assets a little earlier on. Things were costing a lot less and all that kind of stuff probably came into play with it. But I have noticed that when we do write a policy, for a younger person, it's more difficult to bundle them with even a renter's policy or a homeowner's policy, because they just don't have it. They're living in a situation that doesn't justify them to have that type of policy.
Do you see price points going up as we continue to go on year over year, or do we get back to a kind of normal increase year over year?
I'm hoping that happens. But the problem that we're going to combat is, when somebody gets $50 for something, how are they going to justify saying, oh, I'm going to go to $40 next year? So, I mean, I think that's going to be one of the biggest hurdles that we're going to have to go over, is kind of bringing that into control. And if it doesn't get into control, then...
What do you mean bringing from... I get what you mean.
Like the inflation. So like the inflationary cost, is one of the biggest rises in the past couple of years, and it's continued to rise. And if we don't get that under control, where people are kind of bringing that down instead of it continually going up. I mean, as you know, there's been years where the cost of milk was the same for, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And it was, but now it's cost of milk was different last year than it is this year. And it just makes that whole situation a little bit different. But I mean, it's just hoping that the gap gets smaller, so that the gap of the inflation gets smaller, so that we'll be able to kind of get it under control, so that these rate increases, because no matter what, I mean, as we know, more accidents happen. Our generation is one of the biggest generations that's going to be hitting the roads. More people drive, and as time goes on, the next generation is even bigger than ours. So you think about the congestion that's going to get on the road. I mean, that aspect of the risk is always going to play a factor to say more people on the road, higher risk of an accident. Sure. That's obviously going to be a big factor of an increase.
Why are there more people on the road? Just more people?
Just our generation is more populated. More people are getting their license now every day than there was many, many years ago, just because there's more 16-year-olds turning 16 than back in the day. I mean, you hear about the baby boomers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Our generation is way bigger than those, and it's just causing that to happen a lot more.
Speaking of the younger generation, especially in Delaware, series of car vandalism, stealing. Mm-hmm. We were talking before the podcast. You said it takes like 3 days to get a Kia?
Well, there are some states where there's like a delayed period of insuring a vehicle because of the type of vehicle. Like, to give you an example, a lady who works for my office, she drives a Kia. Both her husband and her drive a Kia. And 2 weeks ago, their car got broken into, just like every other Kia out there, because there's some kind of thing with their the anti-theft in their car, to where it has a problem, and that people can be hacked and get into it really easily. And she's been going through this process with them, but it's just a common thing that's been happening a lot, where there's just a lot easier of a vehicle to steal, and some insurance companies are requiring certain things for those vehicles because they're not willing to take on a risk where that vehicle gets stolen. So,
okay, I hear you. So if more vehicles are getting stolen, is that going to bleed into other brands too? Is it just Kias right now?
Right now, it's something to do with them. I know there's some kind of class action lawsuit that the lady who works for me was talking about, where they're actually paying people because of something with their theft system whenever they produced the cars, and now it was just something they did wrong, and now they're having to take the cars back to the dealerships. The dealer's putting some kind of new chip in them to fix the anti-theft, and then they're having to compensate for all that stuff that's going on. And it's Kias and Hyundais is what I've heard.
Okay.
I don't know about the class action stuff with the Hyundais, but I know that they're one of those higher risk vehicles for being stolen and stuff because of something with their anti-theft.
That's the first car I ever bought by myself. It's a Hyundai.
A Hyundai?
And crazy topic on that one. I mean, my Hyundai payment was $189.
Wow.
And then I got my Camaro parked out back right now. Became my secondary car for a little bit. Got a Tesla. And then somebody gave me a noxious offer for the Tesla back when the lithium mine things were going on and we're a year into COVID. And somebody said, I'll come up from Virginia and give you this. I'm like, you
do it.
Come, bring the money. Like, please, it's yours. And what? And I didn't think he was going to come. And then came, left. I'm like, all right, guess we drive my Camaro now.
Exactly.
Owned it outright. I'm like, cool, no more payment.
Yep.
But that payment on the Camaro was $315. And that put some money down beforehand Tesla, so that doesn't matter. But those two have basically mortgaged the whole or financed the whole thing. Now you're not walking off the lot with a car really under like, what's a realistic number? 650, 750, and now we're talking about your auto insurance. Could be what per month?
It ranges so much. That's so hard to tell.
But are we?
But I can guarantee you that it is unlikely for you to pay less than $100 a month for a car now.
So how far are we from the fact that if you want to own a car or if you want to drive one without paying one in full, and regardless, the difference between owning a home versus owning a car is once you own the home in full, you don't have to have insurance if you don't like. It's still highly advised to still have home insurance. But car insurance, even if you haven't paid it off, you still 100% it's on the road. Got to have car insurance. You got to have secondary if it's sitting around or whatever. So what happens when, in order to own a car, you need to pay $1,000 a month? Because the two things, because we might already be there. Because when we talk about the payment, let's call it $650. And then we talk about insurance, call it $100. We're already at $750. What, three stops for gas a month? 4? What's too much? I don't know. I guess it depends on the car.
Yeah, how much you drive. What you're
so let's
doing,
say there's another 200 in gas. We're already right there at 1,000.
Oh yeah.
So driving's becoming a luxury. Shelter's becoming a luxury. Insurance being necessary and being, a necessary evil, only kind of adds to the problem and probably isn't falling on ears softly that they could continue to go up.
Yeah.
So what do people do to prepare to set themselves up to not be, as they say, home poor or cash poor?
Or insurance
poor. Insurance poor.
Trust me, I hear that so much. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it's such a necessary evil. Just because, you actually, believe it or not, you have the ability to self-insure yourself in the state of Delaware. But you have to prove to them that you have X amount of dollars sitting in an account.
Got it.
To say, let's just make
and
it up. I don't know what it is. And it won't move. So let's say the numbers, and this is totally made up. Let's say it's 50 grand.
Yeah.
They say you have to have an account for your self-insurance of 50 grand and you have to report it so that they know that you have this to self-insure yourself.
That's crazy. Hey, question came in the chat, and Sean, could you look it up too? Someone's looking for a Lexus dealer in Lewis. They said they were driving through the area.
There is none.
There is no Lexus dealer in the Lewis area?
No, my mom drives a Lexus and she has to go.
Oh, she didn't even say Lewis. She said Delaware. My apologies. So just
Delaware, that'd be up.
There is
up
one
north?
in Wilmington and Ellesmere.
There's one in Wilmington and Ellesmere. So they're both up north.
Or you go across the Bay Bridge, and there's one right across the Bay Bridge in Annapolis.
Okay. I know when I originally got my Tesla, I drove like 2 hours ago. Got it. There was nothing near here, and that was a fun car.
Oh,
it was
I bet.
Fun car. Insurance companies at the time though hated it.
Oh yes.
I think over time they'll love the autopilot thing. So it'll be like, cool, humans don't touch anything.
Yeah.
But as at the time, they're like, you're taking your hands off the wheel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Millions. It wasn't millions, but felt like it. But that's unfortunate.
It is. And I mean, the idea, you would ask, like, what can you do to help with that? I mean, the good news is every insurance company has different programs that you can qualify for that are extra discounts. Even the state of Delaware has a program called Defensive Driving, which is a state-run course that you can take. It gives you 10%. It teaches you how to be a better driver, a defensive driver, all that type of stuff. And it's something that you can get a discount off your policy for. So
how much are you normally saving?
It's 10% off the liability portion, but the liability portion is the most expensive portion of your insurance.
Got it.
So depending on your premium, I mean, there's people that save hundreds of dollars a year. There's people that save $60 a year, just depending on what there is. But that's the thing that you always want to ask is every insurance company has different programs. They have different ways to look at how you drive. Every insurance company out there uses the tracking now to where you can either plug something into your car or put a device in your car that tracks the way that you drive and gives you a discount based on it. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways around it than just going the average, but the idea of some people being tracked, not a lot of people like that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
It's a questionable thing, but I will say, I mean, I participate in the program, and I only do it because of the discount. I mean, that's really it. Because at the end of the day, there's over 122 different factors that go into coming up with a rate for a car insurance. If I can benefit in one of those factors, I would rather do that, especially now when insurance is so high.
Of course.
People call me and they're like, why is my insurance so high? I want it to go down, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, do drive safe and safe. It's going to track how you drive. No, I'm okay. Well, then you're going to have to go with the average.
You ask for the option. That's the option, whether you like the option or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I get that, though. But let me play devil's advocate to that, because you just brought up a great point. Cars that are, I don't know what the time frame is, but I know right around when I bought my car was when they were putting in like those anti-theft systems, and cars were being able to be like remotely unlocked and remotely started, like that 2008, 2012 range was kind of that shiftish area. I'm sure there was cars before and after made differently, but regardless, those age cars kind of feel like they would be up for grabs for people who eventually figure out how those systems work.
They could.
That, I guess, doesn't that become kind of a fear when you're installing devices, or at least have devices that are capable of, like the car is capable of being tracked. The car is capable of having all of its analytics of how it's running and where it's at and
that's
how
already
often
happening.
It runs. Yeah, it's already being tracked. So what does it take with a device that some cars can produce their own Wi-Fi signal, and not to mention Bluetooth? That's been happened.
Oh yeah.
From hacking happening. I don't know when, where, how it becomes a problem, but there was a story. Sean, could you bring it up so I don't talk out of my ass? There was a story, I believe it was out of town of Baltimore, a year or two back, got basically held at virtual gunpoint. Did you hear about this? Their city's information, and I believe it was Baltimore, personal info of their residents, and I don't want to speak, but I know a lot of personal information was going to get leaked unless they got wired a certain amount of money.
Wow.
And to my understanding,
They did it?
they got wired the money.
Wow.
And if you think about it, it makes sense. Like, okay, who are you going to raid? Who are you going to track? You're tracking hackers. They probably took care of that. Like, they probably look like they're in Germany.
Exactly.
And that's a VPN. $20.
Yeah,
Good.
exactly.
I can do that part. So, and I'm sure they can get through VPNs. But regardless of all that stuff, does it worry you that it's because I'll give you my perspective in the housing industry. Our world's changing. I think in 3 years, homes are going to be sold and talked about like whether or not they're Alexa, Google, or Apple style voice homes.
I could see that.
Yeah, I think that happens. I think commissions for realtors go down. I think maybe the number of realtors involved in the transaction goes from 2 to 1. I'd prefer that, honestly, and that's a side topic. But all that to be said, like your deal, I won't get into details online, but that's another one where like, hey, maybe this goes 10 out of 10 instead of 8.5 out of 10 if the main people that had to be in communication was one person.
Yeah.
I found a 2019 article.
2019, maybe it was longer ago. Is it Baltimore?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. For nearly 3 weeks, Baltimore has struggled with a cyber attack by digital extortionists that have frozen thousands of computers, shut down email servers, disrupted real estate sales. How'd they do that?
Yeah.
Water bills, health alerts going out, and many other services. But here's what frustrates city employees most and citizens do not know. A key component of what the malware cyber criminals used in this attack was developed as a taxpayer expense. So this is where, it gets silly. It's like, okay, this was originally, looks like it was made as something to, what is it? Are you able to read the full article, or is it going to make you pay for it? I hate it. Oh, no, it gets you to. Never mind. Eternal Blue attacks. All right. And to my understanding, there was an amount of money that was held over, and they had to give it up. Again, I might be talking out of complete gossip and conjecture.
They might not admit that part.
Okay, here we go. May 7th, city workers had their computers frozen by officials had to have refused to pay the $100,000 ransom. Okay, so maybe it ended up not happening, but something like that. Let's put that in perspective. You get to the point where things like this are not common knowledge, but accessible knowledge. We're at like the 5 to 10 minutes till we got an end point. I don't want to make it about me. I was a cyber warfare guy in the Army, deployed. Yeah, did the tech stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't get to anywhere close to that point, but got connected in the world where I met some of those people. People who could hack servers, people who did claim, they were trained and had the ability to, if they need to, shut down power grids, things like that. And you hear like, man, we got the ability to shut down power grids. We got the ability to do this. We got the ability to do that. Man, if we can do it to our enemies, can we do this to ourselves?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah. Absolutely. We're the ones that built it. Of course we can. And that's ultimately a little bit terrifying.
Very much so.
But it makes me think, man. Like, how do our industries look in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
I mean, as you can tell, from me, I'm not saying I like this, but it's going in the direction of kind of automated. You know what I mean? Like, I know for us, State Farm, there's a lot of automation that's going into place. Now, the idea behind our automation is it's going to be more streamlined for the customer.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, it's cutting out a lot of people, like you were saying, you know, going from 2 real estates to 1 real estate agent handling the deal. I mean, that's essentially what almost every industry is looking to do. It could be argued to say for money, because imagine if you cut your employee population in half.
Well, of course.
What's that going to do?
But that's a great argument for I'll put real estate up. I mean, real estate technically has a 6% moniker that floats around with it as a commission. There's no set commissions or standards around commissions, but 6% is the numbers from around. Sometimes it's 5. The job can be done, in my opinion, by one person for the amount that person expects to be paid when there's 2 agents.
Yeah.
So ultimately, yeah, the public could save money. There could be deals that are created that allow for mortgages to be a little less expensive based off savings, and things like that can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Usually it's not as honky-dory as people think it's going to be when that stuff comes out. But coming to our perspective, when you say, hey, from 2 agents to 1, the insurance side, it feels like that's going to be a similar world where, hey, if there's 10 insurance agents right now that are making a living and doing great, you know, how many in 10 years are still doing that?
Exactly.
Seems like there's still going to be that in existence, but the people that are left are going to be servicing everybody.
Oh, yeah.
In some term or form.
Yeah, and I mean, and the other thing, I mean, a lot of people are pushing to kind of bring it all together a little bit more.
Yeah.
So like, to give you an example, State Farm made a shift to where instead of hiring new agents, they're trying to give current agents more offices.
Ooh.
Because
that makes sense.
Exactly.
Feed the top.
Exactly.
It's in the Bible. The rich get richer.
Exactly.
It's in the Bible. It's a known fact. And that's just an easy psychological way that it happens.
Exactly.
You get big State Farm looking down at all the offices like, hey, we see X might happen in 3 years. What should we do? Hey, let's feed the people we know will still be here and producing in 3 years. And the rest might find their place as either no longer office runners and maybe people who work for a team, or they're just out of the business. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Market shift.
But it's definitely going that way.
How can people connect with you, man? I know you're not huge on social media.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I need to get better at. But yeah, mydelawaresfagent.com is our website that links you to anything you want to go to. We have, you know, our LinkedIn, our Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. That's where you can keep up on what we're doing with the community. We just had an awesome event for the airbase back in December. So just keeping up with all that kind of stuff, what we're doing, things that you can also help and bring in with. So
What'd you do at the Air Force Base?
One of my customers a few years ago approached me. We do a Feed the Troops event where we do a Christmas dinner on the 15th of December every year.
Love that.
We try to feed the entire base. So.
Love that, dude. Yep. Please let Loft try to be involved in that next.
Course.
I'd never heard about that. Let's take some of the financial burden from you.
Yeah,
Love that.
Absolutely.
Either way, dude,
join.
Can connect with you. My Delaware SF agent.
Yep.
Probably Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the. And by the way, when I say you're not big on Facebook, you're a big brand, doing big things. You just choose not to share most of your personal life, which I commend for, because most people are throwing their prescription lists on social media. So either way, appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, man.
Great having you, man.